it is my distinct honor to address you today and join esteemed friends as we mark the conclusion of the course on integral ecology with this international conference. My name is Sano. I am a climate activist, and I am the vice chairperson of the Laudato Si movement. I also currently serve as the executive director of Greenpeace Southeast Asia. I am unable to join you in real time today on account of my involvement in this act of resistance against the fossil fuel industry, which is continuing to inflict injustice through the impacts of the climate crisis. As you receive this message, I am in the middle of the sea, as you can see, with a group of brave activists standing up to confront a large fossil gas platform that is also now being set up as a carbon capture and storage facility, which totally glosses over the need for urgent and genuine climate action, and not actions that are akin, I might say, to going to church on Sundays, but committing grave crimes on weekdays, as if carbon capture and storage and other forms of carbon offsetting can absolve them of their sins against nature and humanity. Big multinational fossil fuel companies are behind this recklessness. In the face of the climate emergency, we bear witness to these false solutions, these stark examples of the ethical decadence of power that Pope Francis talks about in Laudate Deum. In 2015, as we all can recall, Pope Francis gifted us with a letter, Laudato Si, a heartfelt call to care for our common home. Laudato Si brought to light the intricate relationship between us and our planet, urging us to embrace a profound ecological conversion. The encyclical underscored that the ecological crisis is fundamentally a spiritual and moral crisis, one that required a holistic approach if we were to find the courage to confront it. We in my country, in the Philippines, received Laudato Si with much gratefulness because it came on the heels of a series of devastating climate extreme events, including Super Typhoon Haiyan that killed thousands of people and left a massive wake of devastation. Pope Francis visited us a year after the typhoon, and we felt God's love in this very difficult time in our history. Laudato Si invited us to see the earth as a sister and a mother, to recognize the interconnectedness of all creation, and to understand that the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor are one. It was a reminder that we are stewards of creation, tasked with safeguarding the planet for future generations. 9 months ago, just a couple of months before the 10th anniversary of Super Typhoon Haiyan, we received yet another exhortation from Pope Francis. This time, he minced very little words. Pope Francis wrote, and I quote, "With the passage of time, I have realized that our responses have not been adequate, while the world in which we live is collapsing and may be nearing the breaking point," unquote. So in the 8 years since Laudato Si, climate change has turned into a serious crisis, a climate emergency. The environmental degradation continues, climate disruption has become aggravated, and the most vulnerable among us suffer disproportionately. The question of urgency has become a pressing reality. Laudate Deum, which was published on the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi last year, is a call to action. It underscores the immediacy of action needed to address the climate crisis. The transition from Laudato Si to Laudate Deum represents a journey from reflection to action, from contemplation to urgent response. So why is our situation ever so urgent? Well, our window for averting the worst impacts of the climate crisis is closing rapidly. Scientific consensus, as the Pope writes, tells us that we have a limited time frame to reduce greenhouse gas emissions drastically. And if we fail to act swiftly, we risk catastrophic consequences for ecosystems, economies, and human lives and livelihoods. Secondly, the interconnected nature of global issues means that environmental degradation exacerbates social injustices. The poor and the marginalized who are least responsible for environmental harm suffer the most. This injustice calls for immediate and compassionate action, aligning with the core messages of both Laudato Si and Laudate Deum. Thirdly, the youth of today are demanding change. They see the world are inheriting and are rightfully concerned. The kids are telling us, enough is enough. Their voices remind us that urgency is not just a matter of policy and economics, it is a moral imperative to secure a livable future for all. Laudato Si, my dear friends, laid the foundation by opening our eyes to the moral dimensions of the environmental crisis. Laudate Deum hopefully galvanizes us into urgent and decisive action. Laudate Deum also reminds us about the weakness of international politics, the slow pace of progress in finding lasting solutions, and warns us on the dangerous use of power in our world. The question of urgency is not one we can afford to ignore. From Laudato Si to Laudate Deum, the message is very clear. If not now, then when? We are called to transform our awareness into action, to heed the cries of the earth and the poor, and to ensure that our planet remains a vibrant home for all creation. As Pope Francis reminded those who were to attend the last climate summit in Dubai, I quote, "Participants should not be remembered for their inability to take action when it was urgent and necessary to do so," unquote. Let us embrace this urgency with hope and determination, knowing that our actions today will shape our collective future. My dear friends, thank you so much, and may the Spirit guide us all into action.